Hey guys, good evening. Welcome to Tintin Race Weekend. Good to see you all once again. Gautam, good to see you once again in this chat show. Hope you guys doing well and are safe at home. The lockdown's coming to an end. Let's wait for a few more people to join and then let's start today's topic. So, good evening, guys. Let's start off. I think we have enough people who have joined for today's episode of Tintin Race Weekend. Uh, for people who are joining new, I would want to tell them that why am I doing this every weekend. Uh, for the last 10 years, I've been associated with active race management and managing my own racing team and riders in the unprecedented situation which we are in now. I've been away from the racetrack for quite some time. Many of you are, so have I. And this prompted me uh, to open up a session with you guys to share what I feel. Normally I share everything that I feel with my riders and my team, and that's been the story of Tintin Racing success and the performance of riders. So today we will what I'm doing now is sharing the same experience with you guys so that you guys understand what motorcycle racing is from the perspective of what I have seen, what I have experienced, and and how I can share that with you so that you have a better understanding of the sport and you take a better approach uh, in your professional career or your hobby or your passion that you have for motorcycles and motorcycle racing, right? So those of you who had joined last week, I had taken you through a more serious presentation of what are the kind of competitions that are available across uh, the world and where do you need to start and how do you need to take up a FMSCI license, who are the governing bodies of motorcycle racing in India, who are the organizers of motorcycle racing in India, and how to select an academy and so on and so forth, and how you can get to starting your racing career. So, hey Abhi, welcome man. Good to see you. Uh, so what I'm going to do in this weekend is basically postmortem it a little more, go a little more deeper inside, and we will talk about national championship. This question is always there. Gani, welcome, welcome, welcome. Haven't seen you for long. So this question is always there. How many of our guys, how many of our times we listen to it? I think there's always a question lingering that how do I start racing? Where do I start racing? How do I participate in a race? How do I join an academy? What is the fees? And so let's be in the same topic, but from a very different perspective. I will dismantle and assemble it for you. It's not postmortem. Let me call it dismantle. So I'll dismantle it and assemble it for you. Um, so what's taking cue from last weekend? Let's start talking about starting your racing career once again. For those of you who keep asking, uh, how do I start? We all know, we have already explained that you need to go to a racing academy. There are many racing academies in this country. A few years back, there were no academies. Today, we have a handful of academies who are doing a great job in promoting the sport and nurturing young talent, including us. And of course, there are many other academies. They have their own principles and methodology of teaching and hence comes out the talent. Um, What you need to do is select an academy, go attend the academy, get a certificate, go to FMSCI, right? But much before that, I would like you to take a step back. Much before that, when you're starting to decide that I want to be a racer. Hari Shankar, I will come back to your question during this conversation. Please hang in there. Age is a factor. I will talk about age as a factor. I've already spoken about it, but I'll speak about it again. So let's take one step back and let's understand. All of us want to ride motorcycle fast, right? And the right means of riding a motorcycle fast, or the right place to ride a motorcycle fast, is on a controlled environment, which is a racetrack, which has got safety aspects like your medical facility, your marshals, and your recovery points, and plus the track is designed in such a way that you don't uh, injure that badly, or there's no oncoming traffic, and so it's a much safer place to ride a motorcycle at a high speed. So when you are deciding that you want to ride a motorcycle fast, the most sensible option is to get to the racetrack. But when does this feeling start? Okay, many of the professional racers that we aspire to be today, many of the professional racers that we know of today, right from Valentino to Mark to many even in Asia, Zlan Shah, all these guys, they all started very young, very young, not with the intention that I want to become a professional racer one day. It was not their intention, but it was just a love for bikes and love of riding bikes, in a fast manner, experimenting with a bike, playing around, or let's say it was their toy, and that was their intention. They just wanted to play around with a toy, and that toy was called a motorcycle. So when they were very young, they had the opportunity to ride smaller bikes, and hence they grew up riding motorcycles. I mean, if I again want to give a similar scenario in India, is obviously cricket. I mean, I think almost all of you and every house will have a cricket bat and ball, to tap around. And that's how motorcycles were inducted into their life. So their scenario is completely different. And so for us to aspire to become them is a long shot. Let me be very frank about it. It's going to be a long shot. You cannot aspire to be Mark Marcus because he started at the age of 5. You didn't start at the age of 5. The scenario is changing. People are starting much earlier now, but not as they start elsewhere. So having said that, whatever age it can be, and whatever age you decide, right, from 5 or to even 25 or 30, you say I want to race and I want to be. You need to decide that what are you going to do in this race? Are you going to become a professional? What are your expectations out of the race? You need to set your priorities right, because it's a very niche segment. It's a very niche sport, and hence you need to have a very clear-cut understanding of the sport. So what I have seen is that many people who come and join the academy or contact us for any of the information, they just say I want to go to MotoGP, or they just say I want to race. They don't even know how a motorcycle race is conducted. They don't even know the format of racing itself. They get to know at a very later stage. But I believe, and I suggest, or I recommend to all of you, that before you decide to start racing, you need to understand the format of racing, the various formats of racing, how a qualifying happens, how a race happens, what are the race results. I mean, these are common stuff. These are not rules and regulations. People don't deep dive into this particular topic, and they just blindly, their only focus is to ride the bike fast. Yes, great, you want to ride the bike fast, but you don't have the mindset to learn as by riding the bike fast, what is the resultant that you want to get out of it. You want to perform, you want to win races. Hence, based on your performance, you get sponsors or you get a support system, which is called your professional backing, which is called your professional earning. So that's where you're trying to get, right? That's where you want. That's where you want to get to be a professional, to earn money out of it. For someone to pay you and for someone to uh, say, okay, I will pay so and so X amount of money, you have to be a great performer, right? So if you have to perform, you need to know the nuance of the sport, the inside of the sport, and many of you come without that knowledge. So I recommend that those of you want to understand racing, is first you need to watch and consume a lot of data of racing by understanding what are the ways they race, what is the slipstream, why do they follow each other on this track, when do they pass, why do they pass. These are the questions that needs to be on your mind at whatever age that you come to racing, and that's what the fun part is. I'll tell you why you need to have these questions on your mind, and why it will change you and make you a better racer as you go forward. So you need to first answer the question to you, that what do you want out of this sport. If you are saying that I want to become a professional racer, make my career out of it, then your approach is completely different. If you say I want to do this as a hobby for fun of it, coming to the age factor, which was questioned, someone asked a question sometime back, is age a factor? So age is a factor. So when you are deciding to get into racing or start racing, participate in races, you still don't know that if you're going to be a professional or not. It has to mature in you, right? So you need to first, if you are older than 20, okay, let's keep the threshold of 20. I think 20 itself is very late. Keeping our factors, Indian factor in mind, I would say let's keep a threshold of 20. So anybody who says I want to race after 20 and start racing after 20, I think you have to decide seriously that how much of effort you're going to put into it in order to take it up as a professional sport. And you need to have a very short time band for yourself, very short time frame that you need to give yourself. You might have to give yourself a year or two before you assess yourself that you are going to put yourself into professional level of racing. Need some coffee. Yeah. So you need to tell yourself that you need to prove it to yourself that you can step into the professional level of racing. So keep about 2 years if you're starting at 20. If you're starting at say 18, then keep about 4 to 5 years before you decide. So that is your learning period, right? So by 22, you should be in a very clear mindset and a clear system of putting yourself in a professional platform. But to get to the professional platform, you need to rewire yourself and your commitment towards the sport. The later you start, the more serious and more tougher it gets. So you need to really rewire your system, your whole life style, your life methods, what you do, and right from your diet, your routines, and your workout, uh, your physical attributes, and your mindset, the time you dedicate for a sport. Everything has to be a little extra as compared to what a 15-year-old do. A 15-year-old will come without anything in his mind, absolutely clean, and then he will put in a few great laps, and then he'll become a star performer already. So he'll become a star performer already. So what I would suggest is that you have this clear mindset of that what you want to do. So Harish Shankar, if I have to answer, if I have to answer your question, I think you have done your research or study on what racing is. No, not worried about the technical terms, but at least the knowledge of how a racing happens. At 32, I would say do it for the love of it, do it for the fun of it. You cannot surely take it up as a profession, because I'm sure you already are committed and have a lot of other commitments in your life that you need to worry about. So hence, take it up as a hobby, take it up as a sport. I mean, many of us do that. I restarted my career when I was restarted my not a career, my racing when I was 32 or 33. Which I couldn't do it when I was much younger, so I stopped and then I started later. So for sure that you can also do that, but take it up as a profession. It's a quite a steep task. Atit, I was just saying that if you start, let's keep the threshold at 20. 20 is the cutoff. If you're already racing, that's a different scenario. But if you're starting at 20, then you keep 2 years, and let's keep 22 as the cutoff. By 22, you need to understand that if you are ready to race, if you are prepared to race, or if you are ready to become a professional, based on your performance. And if you are 18, same goes. You got 4 to 5 years before you are preparing your mind that I'm going to dedicate myself. Ultimately, it's a question of dedicating your time, money, and effort. If you are going to spend all this money, time, and effort, then it's up to you. I mean, you can do it at any age, but I mean, is it worth it? Is the question. So if you are doing it earlier, you have the time, money, and effort that you put in, which can be benefits for you. If it doesn't, then do it as a hobby and do it for fun, and enjoy the sport. And it's always going to be there. And riding a motorcycle is always fun, whatever age you are in. So unknown 55. You are 17. You have some time in you, or maybe 2 to 3 years in you before you decide that you can become professional. So join an academy, get your certificate, get your FMSCA license. You can watch the previous video of I've explained how to go about it. It's already there on IGTV, so you can check the video there. So how you can proceed, and you can give it a shot, but still everything is everything is about age, and the earlier you start, the better you become. So when you start, so what I was saying is, when you start, you need to make sure that you have a very clear mindset in terms of what you're going to achieve out of it and what you want from the sport, right? So having said that, we will then now look at, once you select an academy, you got your FMSCA license, you got trained in the academy for 1 day or 2 days to get your certificates for FMSCA license. Then what? What do you do after that? I mean, there are two parts to it. One is on the track, one is away from the track. So you need to redefine your life in both these areas. Away from the track, what you need to do? You need to define a clear-cut chart of your physical routine, physical fitness routine, your training routines, and your practice routine. You need to condition yourself. Even if you're going to do it as a hobby, racing is a task. Racing is a very demanding task, a physically demanding task, which will make you tired, and it is a very intense sport. So hence you need to prepare yourself before you get to the racetrack, and if you want to perform, in a competitive level. So what you need to do is, you need to get your mindset right, your fitness right, your routines right in your away from the track life, so that you have a system going, you have a focus to ride on the racetrack. Now, once you set this right, for the preparation of the track itself, you need to contact the organizer of the event, which is Madras Motorsports Club. So you need to be in constant touch with them through their Facebook, through their social platforms or website, or maybe call them and find out what their programs are, what are the upcoming races are, and based on that you need to plan how you're going to apply for it. So once you have the FMSCA license, there are two ways to approach it again. One is to go the one make way. I'm not going to talk about the one make way too much because that's already spoken many a times. So if you want to take up racing on your own, say you are starting from zero, and that's how we used to start when there was no one make races. When before the manufacturer brought bikes for free or bikes for a very low cost, there was there was absolutely mm, there was absolutely no support. So what we need to do is look at how do you set up a framework for yourself. A very simple structure. Okay, so let me simplify this for you. What you need is a motorcycle, a race ready motorcycle, right? When I say a race ready motorcycle, this motorcycle is homologated by the Federation of Motorsports Club of India. So typically, the federation is what approves which are the motorcycles that can be ridden on the track based on the specification, based on the technical specifications, the engine, the size, the capacity. So there's a whole lot of things that they investigate before they give a approval of what bike, how the bike, which bike can be ridden on the track. So having said that, the most easiest bike that is available off the shelf in the market uh, uh, is a R15, right? That's one of the easiest bike. And if you are looking at a higher CC, then the KTM's and the R3s and the Apaches are also now performing very well on the track. That is in the higher CC. But at an entry level, you for sure you have the R15, which is the most easiest bike to prep up. So all you need is a bike, a kit, right? A race kit which forms of leather, a suit, a helmet, a boot. I speak about this in detail in our training programs. Whenever you join the training program in future, you will see that. I will explain what the suit is. So you need a racing suit, a helmet, a glove, and a boot. This is a simple set of kit. A motorcycle and a racing kit is what you need, and FMSC license, of course, to take part in the race. So once you have this, all you need to do is contact MMSC and say, hey guys, I want to pay, and pay the entry fee and take part in the next upcoming race. That's all you need to do. Once you have paid up the fees and everything, you should have enough time to take the bike to a technician. Even MMSC can guide you with regards to the technician, or the team where you can give your bike and they can do up the bike for you. There are certain teams who rent out bikes also, where you pay a fee for every race, or for the full season, and then you race their bikes. They give good bikes, and you can participate with their bikes also. There are a few teams which want to you can assess. There is, if you want, I'll name the teams also. As far as the R15 goes, Apex Racing is one, Gusto Racing is one. I think even Sparks is another racing team. RACR is one team. These are the guys who rent out bikes for you to participate. To rent out and participate in the national championship. So having said this, national championship is one of the toughest classes, but it's the best learning class for you. I think it's better than the one make races. One make races sometimes do tend to get diluted, but however, over the last 3-4 years, entry level, which is the stock novice one make race, has been one of the most competitive and effective format of racing for newcomers. The racing is close, the number of bikes is good amount of entry, good number of entries, and so it's a good platform, for you to directly enter. So if I want to make it simpler, all you need is a motorcycle and a racing kit, and you need to approach Madras Motorsports Club. That's all you need. So before I get on to the next topic, I will answer Hari's question. Sure, Hari, please wait for this lockdown to get over, which is we are opening up on the 18th. We are coming up with some new programs and new training modules. do look out check out our website and social media platforms, and you can surely join. Learning doesn't stop. You can always learn new things from different people, and um, you tend to get faster as you go. Repsol has asked a question, bro. I wear specs. Is it okay to join in this, or do you have any limits? Um, Wearing specs is it depends on the power. I don't know what power, and how what your vision is. But having said that, there are many riders and many champions who have worn specs and ridden. There is this famous world champion called Nobi Oeda. He used to wear very big specs, thick ones, and race. If you want to know the current riders who wear specs, who are racers, is Thomas Luthi wears contact lenses and rides, and it's very difficult. You need to get adapted to it. He wears special contact lenses which don't come out because at high speed and the wind blast, the contact lens usually tends to come out. But Thomas Luthi uses some special contacts, or I don't know if he's done a corrective measure right now, but he used to wear glasses. Um, so uh, that's that's the answer for having should I wear specs? Can I wear specs and ride? So either you can look at contacts, or you can wear the specs inside the helmet and ride. So it's not a problem. Doesn't restrict you from racing, but it's quite uncomfortable, as compared to racing without glasses. I used to have a rider called Vikram, and he used to wear glasses and ride on a 1000 cc, and he used to be very fast. So that doesn't really matter. I will talk about the fee structure, Yashwant, a little later. I think everybody is worried about the fee structure only. There is no structure per se. So let me tell you guys, all these academies, including mine, are not some academies which are like your computer course, or some kind of a college. We come up with a program based on the experience, and yeah, based on our racing experience, and based on the methods of riding that we have learned and we have understood, and we impart that knowledge. So the physics of riding a motorcycle remains the same, right? Be it 1010 Racing or be it any other academy, we're going to say the same thing to you. We're not going to say something new or different. So, um, so you need to mm, not worry about the kind of Hari Shankar again has asked a question. If you can shed light on participating in the Isle of Man. Oh, Isle of Man is another beast altogether. For that, if I have to tell you, you need to move to Isle of Man, and need to stay there for a few months to understand the whole course. You need to recce the whole course time and time and again, and understand each and every bump and each and every corner and each and every and plus the riding methodology is totally different as compared to what we would say we would teach in an academy. And it's once in a lifetime experience, and once you get the hang of it, and once you get the experience, and it's something unbelievable. Even top motorcycle racers, circuit racers, I admire Isle of Man riders. So it's a crazy experience. But to get there, you need to go stay there. If you need, again, you can rent a bike there. There are many local technicians and local workshops there who rent out bikes for the series, um, where you can sit and work with them and set up a bike, and you can start off with the juniors cup, and but in terms of the certification, in terms of approvals and licenses, I'm still not clear about it because I've still not attempted to go that far. Um, okay, so Evil perhaps how does sponsorship work? Okay, I will talk about it in another 15 minutes. Okay, I'll talk about sponsorship in another 15 minutes. Uh, what is the fee structure? So let me go to the fee structure. So what we are all worried about is the fee structure. So we are all basically academies that which gives you which impart knowledge of from our experience and not from some textbook or something which we read and tell you something, or we don't have a manual or a course material or something. So please remember that. And the fee structure uh, varies from academies to academies based on their approach and methodology. That's what it matters. As far as our fee structure goes, we've been experimenting with many fee structures, and we will come up with a new fee structure as we go forward. We are trying to again make things accessible for as many people as possible. Um, so we are going to try and find an innovative way of teaching you guys, and training you guys. So there are two parts to it, teaching and training. So we're trying to split that, and so wait for a week or so. Maybe by end of May, I would say would be ideal. We will come up with a complete package and program which will give you a complete idea about how we will train, and how you can be part of Tent Racing Academy. So I'm gonna leave about marketing Tent Racing Academy there, because that's not the intention of this particular race weekend show. It's about sharing knowledge of motorcycle racing. Sir, Dawal is asking, when should I expect TVS One Make Championship to occur this year? Dawal, we are all waiting for the bright day where the racing will start in India. Again, the national championship. TVS One Make races and Honda One Make races, we presume will start around August, but the dates are still not clear. I mean, we are still not clear about what's going to happen after this lockdown release and how things are going to shape up. But we will wait for it, and it will happen sometime in August, September, October. Let me put it that way, any month whenever it starts. So please be in touch with Madras Motorsports Club, and they will be the right people to inform you about the entry and the procedures. I think there's a selection procedure also, but please be in touch with them, and they'll be happy to help you. Um, High Flyer, 3-day session soon. Yeah, like I said, we are changing many formats. The 3-day program might be there, might not be there. Um, that's going to be a surprise package for you guys. There's going to be some interesting approach that we're going to do for training, and taking step by step, because like I said, I have worked with over 1,000 riders, training 1,000 riders. In that, not many are racing, and the reason they are not many racing is because the handholding has not happened. So I realized that it cannot start and stop with just 1 day training or 3-day training. So it has to be a long handholding of a racing aspirant to support him and to guide him in the right direction. So we are putting together a platform which will actually give you opportunity to train, implement, again train, implement the next level, and train and go to the next level, and so on and so forth. So we are trying to set up a system like that, and that's what we will come up. I have given you a teaser for what we are coming up with. So look out for that, and once that starts, and I hope it will be a great platform for you to be associated with our academy. Yashwant sir, I have contacted Tintin and asked about the 3 levels of training, but they have told they have different programs. I have one concern is that the program certification can get persons FMSA license. Okay, the different academies. Yashwant Wutukuri. Okay, I'll call you Yashwant. Yashwant, the difference here is that please understand that the license, to procure a license, the training that you attend is a very simple training. I would put it on basic, or maybe a little less than basic also. Basically, it teaches you with regards to the flags, and with regards to the rules and regulations and the safety aspects, and plus basic riding around the track. That's as far as our academy is concerned, and that's what it does. It doesn't push you into the limits of riding a motorcycle. It doesn't take you to the next level of riding a motorcycle. It doesn't take you into the braking aspect of it. So if you want to call it level 1, you can call it level 1. You can call it basic, like we call it. You can call it basic. I would categorize it as basic, intermediate, and professional. So for that, for said FMSCA license, you don't need to attend 3 or 4 levels of certification. You just need to do one certification course, which is the basic level, with which you can procure an FMCA license. Please see the video of the previous episode, which is there available on Instagram IGTV. I have explained the whole process by which how you can apply for the FMCA license. So, I hope that helps you. High flyer, sir. For me, it's mostly about riding and learning and being safe on the street as I'm 29. Absolutely. What I believe is what you have said right now, high flyer. What I believe is that when I started the academy and when we started training riders on the racetrack, the motto, yes, was to find a talent, and we knew that we are not going to find 100 talent from 1,000 riders. But what we were very confident is that out of 1,000 people we train, for sure we will create 1,000 good riders on the road. That part of it was very clear, and yes, you can keep coming and we will keep improving your riding skill sets and riding techniques, which will make you much safer on the road, make you anticipate better on the road also. My riding changed after I rode on the racetrack. I mean, the perception of speed, the method of braking, the way you approach certain unexpected situations, your reflexes, and the way you control your bike actually changes. So absolutely, I think you should come back, and we will teach you something more intense that might help you. Okay, let's talk about something else. Let's again go into the simplification mm, of race. So when once you have registered for the national championship, it is not just it's over. Your bike is ready and you're ready with the kit, and your paid the entry fee. Doesn't mean it stops there. Your application of riding, your thought process of riding has to be a constant process. You have to constantly think and visualize the circuit, the track. I mean, if I'm sure by the time that you would decide to race in the national championship, you would have done a couple of track days or training academies, and you should be able to understand how the track design is, where to brake, where to turn, and all. So you need to constantly think about this on a regular basis. That's what makes a rider more comfortable on the track. The secret is that you are constantly doing an image mapping of the racetrack, and riding through the racetrack. So when I was young, or many of my riders who have been successful, they used to do a lot of image mapping. They used to ride the track almost all the time, and that is a constant process. When you are away from the track, you need to try where you can find that extra millisecond, because where you go brake, where you turn, and where you open the gas, for people who have done academy, is the same. It's a marginal difference is what is going to make you a little bit more faster, and the way you perceive a particular corner. So where does that come to? Where does that come to? It is about the creativity, right? It is about how you look at approaching certain things on the track, and that can only come by preparation, by constant preparation of your mind, and constant understanding of what can happen, right? So there are two parts to it. The implementation of your creativity, what you want to do, what you want to try, happens during your practice and the training days, right? Can I take a particular corner with a turning earlier? Can I take corner trying to turn later? Can I apex early or late? Can I go more deep into the corner? All these processes can happen not by just going to the track and applying it. It is not going to work, because it's going to scare the shit out of you, right? Scare the shit out of you, sorry. It is going to scare the shit out of you if you're going to try and do that. You need to prepare yourself well in advance of every attempt that you're going to do on the track, right? Not the day before, not the day of the race, or not the day of the practice, or not the day of implementation. of the particular activity. You need to prepare well in advance, saying this is what I'm going to attempt at this particular corner and this particular time, and you need to be ready to log that particular data of what the bike does, right? Is it going slow? Is it fast? Is it sliding? Is it behaving funnily? This process is what you need to build. So there is a process. Before you go to the track, you decide what are the things that you're going to apply on the track, and what is going to be when you apply it, what is going to be the reaction to it. Are you going to reduce your time? Is the bike going out of control? Are you running wide? Are you sliding? So this particular data you collect, you bring that data back onto the drawing board and do this whole process again. So this is the process that you need to put yourself through constantly. It's very simple and trial and error kind of a method, but you need to keep trying new ways. I mean, if you follow a simple route, okay, for example, if you're doing a 2.0 or 2.10, for example, on a stock bike in MMRT, if you're doing a 2.10 and you're riding around the track and you're doing the same 2.10, where can you find the hundredth of a second, or or a millisecond, or or even half a second somewhere? How can you find that? That should be a thought process, and that might be available for you in one particular corner, in one particular approach to a corner. Do you understand? And that is what you need to find out. To find that out, you need to keep constantly thinking of how can you shorten your approach to the corner. How can you be quick on an exit of a corner? These are the things, so the distance you take to travel has to be quick and it has to be shorter. That's where you gain time, right? It's simple logic. So this is what you need to, this is a thought process that you need to build before you go to a racetrack. So it's a constant process. You think, these are the things that I'm going to do. That's your drawing, that's your creativity, that's your idea. You go implement this idea on the racetrack. And when you implement this idea on the racetrack, you get data. You get an understanding of what are the reactions that you're going to get. Bring it back. Things that work, keep it. Things that don't work, throw it out. Put new ideas and plans in place. Go implement again. This is how you step by step improve your timing and improve your performance. So please remember that. Java, welcome. Thank you for your compliment. Sunil Podapatti, I would say Sunil. I'll keep it as Sunil. Hi, Sunil. With regards to the license, with regards to the insurance, see, the federation license does come with some package along with it. But however, insurance has been a very sensitive factor in our country because none of the insurance companies support motorsports that much. But lately, there are few insurance companies who are giving some insurance with some rider clause. I think you can contact the Madras Motorsports Club. They have contact person. They have people who they know might give you who will give you the insurance. I think you can take up to 5 lakhs or 6 lakhs also. So please apply for the insurance. There's a specialized insurance which they have done. So insurance aspect, to get FMSCA license, you don't need an insurance. You just need a certificate. But to race, to apply for the race entry, to give you a race entry and start racing, for sure you need insurance. So you can contact Madras Motorsports Club. They might be able to guide you to get in touch with the right person who might get you the insurance. Yashwan, don't be sorry. That is why I'm here. You can ask as many doubts as you want. I mean, and I enjoy speaking about racing as much as I can. After the basic training, you get FMSCA license. So can I get intermediate and pro level training from you? See, that's what. See, I've been explaining this over and over again. It is up to you. What do you want to do with this sport? First, you answer that. It is not about collecting medals. It is not about collecting certificates, and don't look at it from that perspective only. Certificate is just a paper. The knowledge that you gain, you can be a person who can just come for a basic session and you can perform like a pro. I don't know. You might have the talent in you. You might be, you can be fast as a pro. But please remember that you if you want to do intermediate or advanced levels of training, you need to first answer a question to yourself: why do you want to do it? If you want to take this professionally, why do you want to invest money in it? Because it's an investment of money, time, and effort. I keep saying that, telling that again and again. So please answer that question to yourself and then decide if you want to do. If you want to do it, then we are happy to train you. That's not a problem at all. Uh, Java, how good is KYT helmet? Uh, do they have race version? Okay, I will answer that serious question, Emmanuel Jabraj. KYT helmets are a pretty legacy name in from Indonesia. So over a period of time, they have evolved their technology, especially after they took over Xiaomi from Xiaomi from Italy. A lot of R&D and knowledge transfer happened from there, and ever since that they have been one of the helmet manufacturers who have implemented or pumped in a lot of funds into research and development of helmets. If I say that Arai and Shoei stopped R&D of helmets, will you believe? I don't know. Arai and Shoei have stopped, don't invest in R&D as much as any new companies do, because they already are the best in the world, and they have already attained the quality, and they have a template quality which they follow. So as far as KYT goes, they are constantly improving and evolving. It's a young brand. It's been around for almost 10 years in the making. Ever since I have known this particular brand. And they have come far. Now they have very good products, predominantly used in the Asian Championship. You will see many of them using in the World Championship also, in Moto3 and Moto2 and also MotoGP by Alesis. So these helmets are as good as they are, as you see, but there are race-specific helmets. That's what you see on your screen right now. NX Race is one such helmet, which is an entry-level racing helmet and comes with great aerodynamics, and the dB level of these helmets are much reduced as compared to what it was. So which means your noise levels are much lower. And more products are coming. A particular product, I can't tell you the name, was supposed to launch this year, but of course, unfortunately, because of the current situation, it might have got postponed. But there's a helmet that will come which will be on par with what they use in Moto2 and Moto3. It's a Xiaomi product which will be sold as KYT also. So once that comes, I think that will be a little upgrade to the NX race that you see. But they are good enough for the helmet. Coming to, if you want to talk about the helmet, for sure that it has to be a composite fiber helmet if you want to race anything above 150 cc. So this is a composite fiber helmet, and even the NSF 250 boys use these helmets. So you must be knowing how the helmets are. So Yashwant, yes, absolutely. I want to pursue as a profession. I don't know how old are you. I've been talking about age being a factor in motorcycle racing. But having said that, you can constantly test yourself and put your skills to test. That's no problem at all, and you can, um, you know. That's what I'm saying. You need to answer the question, and you answer the question saying you want to uh, uh, do it as a hobby, and you want to improve your what you test your capability, and absolutely that's a valid answer too. So please do come for a session. Just wait for some time, and you'll see some interesting training programs that are coming out of Tintin Racing. Sir, how about MT helmets? I'm sorry, that's all. I don't know much about MT helmets, but they are being used at different levels. It's made out of China or Taiwan, I believe, but certain races I have seen MT helmets, but they are not actively involved in racing. I got to know KYT because I'm involved in racing. There are so many good helmets also which don't involve in racing, and but are pure commute helmets. Maybe MT falls in that category. But I've never used an MT also, so I can't really make a statement of it. So sometime back I said in 15 minutes I'll answer that quite particular question. I Someone asked me about sponsorship. How do you approach sponsor? So we are going to come up with a program of which will also train a rider to seek sponsorship and market oneself. So that also is going to be part of a training program. So again, I'll keep that aside and you will hear about it at later point of time. So if you are looking at sponsorships, let me tell you in a very simple manner. Again, simplifying racing, I will simplify sponsorship. Sponsorship is not about asking someone for money. It's not just going and saying, give me money, I will put up a sticker. It's about a relationship that you build with a particular brand. So if you are going to a new brand, an unknown brand also, I would expect you to uh, prepare yourself or do a research on a particular brand, the history of the brand and the sales of the brand and what are the problems and where do they sell, what are the kind of market do they sell in, what is the uh, age group that they sell to. At least the minimal amount of data that you need to collect, and then go and speak to the brand. And when you speak to the brand, they should feel that that this guy knows about my brand and is interested in the brand. That is the first level of icebreaker that you need to give. I'm not asking you to present a business data about the brand, but you should know, if you're going to say Coca-Cola, you should know the different kinds of packaging Coca-Cola has, the price of Coca-Cola, how many bottles do they sell, which age group drinks Coca-Cola. I mean, this is just an example. So there are many aspects that you need to understand. So this uh, raising sponsorship also will be part of a training program as we go, as when we announce in the future. But having said that, in a simple way, if I have to say, it has to be a relationship between a rider and the brand. There are two ways: you approach the brand and you convince them to support you, or they come to you and they support because you are talented. So there are two ways of approach to it. There is no other thing. Uh, One thing I will tell you: please never ever go down on your knees to a brand. I mean, don't ask, please help me. No, don't go into that kind of a conversation, because then it becomes charity. So it's a very thin line, especially in India. People think because they give you money, they have done something great to you. So it's a very sponsorship is a very thin line between charity and sponsorship, right? If you give them a feeling they've done charity, you've given charity, then it goes into a different mindset altogether with the sponsor. Um, so let's keep it as sponsorship. So you need to understand what the brand is all about before you pitch for a brand. So that's what a sponsorship bit is about. But we will go deep into that when we start our academy. Sunil again is asking, I attended 2 track days with 10:10. I am fast on my bike on road, but in the session I couldn't meet speed since I have to change my style a lot. Plan guidance sessions for plans on IV. We are coming up with some sessions online, so please look out for the webinar announcements and training programs. For sure, you need to change your riding style as compared to what you ride on the road. Remember that. Don't ride fast on the road. Don't try to be fast on the road. Ride within the limits, because maybe you will not get a chance again to ride on the track if you ride fast on the road. So please remember that, and control your speed, and do come for our sessions, and maybe we'll make you faster. For sure, you need to change the way you ride on the track as compared to what you ride on the road, right? Is Indian racing very expensive? Are there professional team? Emmanuel Javraj, everybody sitting and watching you here knows who you are. This kind of question. You are a professional team yourself. You own a professional team yourself, and so Indian racing is getting expensive as compared to what it was Emmanuel Javraj. And the cost for this is guys like you and me. We have pushed the limits of this particular sport, and It's in a way good way, only when it becomes expensive, competitive, and the commercial aspect grows is when everybody can make money out of it. That's the true factor of any sport as a business. We are pushing the limits. Gusto Racing team owner is Emmanuel Jabras. For those of you who don't know, he's asked this question. So it is getting expensive. Is it good? Yes, it is good because you're pushing the limits. Is it good? Yes, we are pushing the business of motorcycle racing in India to the next level. So more and more participants and more opportunities are created. Hence, more people are getting involved. So I think it getting expensive is not a problem. I think India, as you know, is still the cheapest place to race. Many other places, like for example, if you take Australia, to ride a stock race bike in an event, each race costs them about 7 to 10,000 Australian dollars, right? That's about, even if you keep about 10,000 Australian dollars for calculation's sake, it's about 5 lakh rupees per race. In India, you can finish a race with 50,000 rupees and get out of the track, right? So it's like that is the difference. And so if you get out of this country, racing is very expensive. Indonesia is another country where racing is much cheaper. The ecosystem has to develop, the business ecosystem has to develop, and there needs to be opportunities, for the business, for the money to roll in this. So it has to get expensive, and it has to evolve as a business for sure. So that's my take on, getting expensive is good for racing. So we are coming to the last minute of it. I have not answered many questions which came offline. I would have answered as I'm speaking. You have been identifying talents. Do you find it hard to find new talents? Absolutely, Jabba, it is. Talent is not something which uh, there are two parts to identifying someone. Okay, so I don't have much time. I got only 2 minutes to wind up. I'm going to take this as a cue for my next session on next Saturday, and I'm going to talk about talents, and how talents have to be identified, nurtured, and evolved, and that also will give an insight for riders as what they need to be and what they have to evolve as. So that's where I'm going to leave. Before I go, I will try and answer a couple of questions which came offline. Fee structure I've already answered. Yashwant, I have answered your question. GTMS, any internship program for automobile engineers? We will come with internship programs. Please do check with other race teams also. They might also have um, internship programs. JJ Bros, please check my previous episode available on IGTV, and you will be able to understand how to join an academy. That's already answered. What are the possibilities of attracting sponsors? Also, I want answered just now. Uh, so that's about it. I think I've answered most of the questions. Thanks, guys. I hope I'm still connected, but just in case, thanks for joining this particular episode of 1010 Race Weekends. It was great chatting with you. Some great questions and great uh, uh, session that I had with you guys today. One session, as you see, is not enough for me to complete it. So this part of it you will be seeing in the recorded version of it. Thanks for joining, and stay safe, stay home, and I will catch up with you guys next Saturday at 5 p.m. with more information about racing and how to take up racing and simplifying racing. So that's about it. Take care. Ciao. Bye.